Hello, everyone. Welcome to part two of our three-part series on Guyana Institute of Historical Research, Emancipation, Presentations for 2021. In this part, we shall look at Hubert Nathaniel Critchlow. Hubert Nathaniel Critchlow is well known to every schoolboy or schoolgirl who is studying for the grade 6 examination, as well as the CXC, all the way up to university. When the secondary school child reads about the life of Hubert Nathaniel Critchlow, from his birth to death, in any CXC textbook, he or she will be inspired that a boy who, on the death of his father, was forced to leave school at the tender age of 14, overcame insurmountable problems, and rose to become the father of the trade union movement in the Commonwealth Caribbean. A respected athlete and a legislator. I assume that if his father had not died, he would have completed standard and qualified as a pupil teacher. Who was Hubert Nathaniel Critchlow? Hubert Nathaniel Critchlow was born on December 18, 1884 to James Nathaniel Critchlow, a Barbadian by birth, who was also a dock laborer foreman on the wharves of Booker Brothers, renamed Guyana Stores. His mother, Julia Elizabeth May Daniels, who was born in Essequibo, was a housewife. Critchlow was born in Wismar and grew up in All Boys Town. As a 17-day-old infant, he was baptized at the Bedford Wesleyan Methodist Chapel on January 4, 1885, by the Reverend Henry Adams. He was active in the church when he was a youth. He was also an excellent singer and was a member of the St. Barnabas Church Choir. Critchlow was educated at the Bedford Methodist Primary School in Georgetown. At the age of 14 years, his foreman father died, and he was forced to leave school in 4th standard. If it had not been for this premature departure, it is possible that he would have either completed 6th standard and proceeded to become a pupil teacher, or he would have entered secondary school. Critchlow then became apprentice to the Demerara Foundry on leaving school. While working there, he made a toy cannon for his own enjoyment. Subsequently, he went to work with a cigarette packing firm as a cigar maker. Low wages, intolerable working conditions, and long hours of work were very discouraging, and he resigned. Critchlow became a bottle washer and later stopgap office boy at Booker Brothers. There was no significant improvement for Critchlow economically, and he chose to become a dock worker on the Booker Brothers wharves, where his father had worked as a foreman. He also worked as a gold miner and electric car driver. He excelled in the field of sports. Critchlow was an athlete, a cricketer, footballer, and stick fighter. As an athlete, he specialized in the middle distances, which earned him the nickname Skibby the Ostrich. He played cricket and football for the Multnomah Sports Club, being an all-rounder in cricket and playing on the right wing in football. Critchlow's highest score in cricket was 131, playing for the Churchman's Club against the Demerara Cricket Club on April 22nd, 1922. He was an efficient stick fighter in the Border Green, All Boys Town, and Tiger Bay areas. His hobbies included farming, reading, and chatting with old people about the workers' social and economic welfare. In 1905, at the age of 21 years, Hubert Critchlow launched his career as an active trade unionist when he assumed leadership of the strike of 1905, which developed into a riot. What were the achievements of Hubert Nathaniel Critchlow as a trade unionist. Critchlow achieved many successes for the workers. His "Don't fight, let me negotiate" underlined the nature of his bargaining with employers. These included the establishment of 8-hour day, higher standard of living, abolition of night work in bakeries, rent restriction ordinance, the Workmen's Compensation Ordinance, the Picketing Ordinance, non-contributory old age pension scheme, universal adult suffrage, relief for the unemployed in the days of depression, housing scheme establishment, free breakfast for school children, and the Friendly Society Ordinance. The trade unionists who walked, talked, and worked with Critchlow were certainly influenced by his charismatic leadership, and these included Alfred of Athiel Thorne, Andrew Jackson, Kenneth Joseph, Joseph Polydor, Gordon Todd, and Frank Andrews. There are other trade unionists who would not have walked with him, but they certainly benefited. The writers who also benefit from their relationship with Critchlow were Ashton Chase and Carlisle Harry. One of the great contributions which Critchlow made to workers was his call for the 1947 Workmen's Compensation Act. Under the Forbes-Burnham administration, this was developed into the National Insurance Scheme Act in 1969. And with that, Critchlow left a legacy for elderly and sick workers. He had died in 1958, 14th May 1958. But in 1969, with the establishment of the National Insurance Scheme, unemployed workers, sick workers, or those who were injured on the workplace certainly had now benefited from the contributions which Critchlow had made. One of the benefits of Critchlow's contribution to the African Guyanese workers, as well as the trade union movement in general, was acknowledged in 1943 when Governor Gordon Letton arrived in the country and he was appointed to the legislature. In appointing him to the legislature, Critchlow had can later be considered the first member of the first minister, of the Department of Labor. This appointment was hailed by the workers and also by the African Guyanese workers. The African Guyanese refer to Critchlow as a social reformer. They also said that he was the greatest African leader this colony had ever seen since the abolition of Negro slavery. The abolition of slavery had occurred on the 1st of August, 1834, and by the abolition of slavery, African slaves could no longer be bought nor sold, and African Guyanese received their full emancipation, their freedom, on the 1st of August, 1838. In recognition of his contribution to African Guyanese, the Calypsonian Eze Obamola had also composed a calypso celebrating the life of Hubert Nathaniel Critchlow. Hubert Nathaniel Critchlow died on the 14th of May, 1958, but his legacy lives on in the British Guiana Labor Union and in the labor union throughout the world, throughout the Caribbean. It also lives on by the establishment of the Caribbean Labor Congress. Thank you for listening to the second of our three-part presentations on Guyana Institute of Historical Research Emancipation series.